Chapter 53. I dodge a clawing motion, then another, stunned at what I see. So weak. Agate is pitifully slow, his movements jerky and inefficient. I feel like I am fighting a drunk child. Were rogues not supposed to be particularly dangerous? Was he always so feeble? I reminisce as I stop another assault and slam my old jailer against the stone wall. Back in the vampire fortress as I first woke up, he had been terrifying. I was powerless before his strength and the pain he could and did inflict. With Amina and Master, he was one of the three individuals who had ruled my life then. I have trouble reconciling my memories with the sad wreck in front of me. Agate, wake up. The degenerate creature shakes its head and charges again with a yowl of fury. I seize his arms as he extends them and shatter the wrists. The beast screams in pain. Agate, enough, wake up. I will kill him. He is a traitor and not someone I intend to keep around. I just want to give him a chance of doing so on his own 2 feet, as a last courtesy from one vampire to another. Not like this. My words are useless. He just tries to bite my arm wherever he can reach it. His aura fizzles sickly and I am left to wonder how much time he spent here. When I disabled him and stunned Father Perry, could the priest have taken the vampire captive with him? Did the traitor spend more than 30 years in their custody, bound here by chains of steel and walls of stone? Did they even feed him? By the Watcher, I would rather rip my own throat and throw myself on a silver spike. I avert my eyes from the fallen one as I remember why I am here. I do not have more time to give him. With a hint of regret, I expose his throat and bite deep. Winter. When Sabate led us to the city they call Kiev, I thought we had reached the end of the world. We brought back strange furs, and slaves with skin as milk and hair like wheat in summer, a treasure for the horde and for the Khan. Now, we ride again into this place they call Hungary. I was already there when Temujin led us into China, and because of my experience and prowess, I was named to lead 100 men. We have split from the main column to find more land to plunder. This tall fortress of black stone looks like a good place to start. They told me I was a vampire. They told me I belonged to the Arenwald clan now. Me. Those sons of diseased dogs. I hate them, and I hate what I have become. They have me sit and do nothing, tend horses or speak to trees. Like a woman. I want my life back. Even if I have to burn everything around me. So much time has passed that even the Golden Horde is just a distant memory. Since I was sold to that horrible woman, I managed to grasp enough control to go out and find one of the servants of the crucified God. If my strength will not do, my guile will have to suffice. Thirsty, 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 thirsty. I pull out. 30 years trapped here, after I shot him in the face. He woke up to find himself already in chains. This must never happen to me. I need to find a way to escape, in case all is lost. I would rather not exist than exist in this world of endless suffering. Hell itself cannot be worse. Agate was changed by mistake or out of cruelty. This is a travesty of what we should be, and his master shares a part of responsibility in this disaster. A waste, from the very beginning. I turn around and ignore the strands of ash clinging to my sleeves. The search leads me to 3 other mad wizards, whom I promptly devour. The next room is more interesting. As I enter it, my nose scrunches in displeasure. Mutt. Intruder. Kill him. No, this is a captive, not an intruder. He trespasses by accident. A man faces me, bound to the wall with chains shining silver. He is surprisingly calm considering the circumstances. He is also sniffing the air, his gestures mirroring mine in a way I find disturbing. His build is light and wiry, like a forester. Straw-colored hair fall on a gentle face centered on vivid green eyes clouded by pain. A smattering of freckles covers his sun-kissed cheeks. What I find strange is that there is no defiance nor aggression in his posture. If anything, he looks like a man who would lend me an ear and comfort me if I were to share a tale. When he speaks, his voice is warm and smooth like good coffee. I wish I could hear him sing. Fair lady, I see you are not one of them. I would be eternally grateful for any assistance you could provide. I realize that this is my very first time having a conversation with a werewolf. I was planning on rescuing the fiancé and vampires provided they agree to secrecy. Now I need to decide what to do with this unexpected find. Kill, or subsume. Fair lady, if you will not release me, will you at least end my torments? You ask for death? I seek freedom, no matter the cost. I would be thankful either way. I don't need another essence of werewolf. I could, however, get some answers on a curse and lifestyle I know nothing about. Are you asking for my help? Are you willing to pay the price? I would be willing to negotiate my liberty at a fair price, yes. You have my word, fair lady. Supplicant. Very well. In return for freedom, you will swear absolute secrecy on me and mine forever. You will also protect me and answer all my questions for the duration of a week, and finally, you will offer me blood. Willingly. Fair lady, this is a generous offer. I accept. Though. Yes? May I ask why do you need my blood exactly? I do not wish to renege, you understand, only to warn you that it carries a potent curse. Oh, I add with a toothy smile, I know. The man's enchanting eyes widen in surprise when he sees my fangs, then he smirks. It appears that I am the one most in need of answers. What may I call you? Ariane. Ah damn. But please, in public call me Ms. Lethe. I add, as I find the key to open his restraints. How very mysterious. My name is Alistair Locke, at your service. Rest assured that I will answer any threat to your person by whomsoever they might be given with the utmost urgency. You are most kind, and since I see you so amenable, there is one more request I would like to ask of you before I draw your blood. Please do. Would you mind going to the other room and find clothes that could cover your manhood? Alistair stares down and realizes his state of undress. I will admit that the view is quite nice, and I graciously step out of his way as he leaves. I also look after him just to make sure there are no anomalies. As a measure of precaution, of course. Nice butt. Enough distractions, however nice, I need to find that woman and there are only 4 cells left. The next one contains another werewolf, this one fully transformed and quite wild. I drink him dry. Waste not want not. I get a final werewolf and to my surprise a Wendigo. I devour them as well and arrive at the second to last door. I have gone full circle. I open the gate to find myself in a bedroom. Instead of the naked stone, unpolished furniture clutters the area giving it a homey feeling. All 4 walls are covered with papers upon which strange glyphs and letters written with an elegant hand. A woman sits at an organized desk, carefully reviewing a document. She is breathtaking. Even the sackcloth they gave her does little to mask her grace and elegance. Dark auburn hair are tied in a messy ponytail that let a few strands grace her cheeks like the frame around a painting. She turns to me, her heart-shaped face regal, and I find myself staring into shining cerulean eyes. Lady Surveyor of the Court of Blue. The woman lifts one imperious brow, then notices something on my face. Vampire. She then spouts imprecations in a voice that goes crescendo culminating with a strident scream. The princess raises a hand to her forehead, then proceeds to faint. Nice to meet you too? Typical. I grab the woman and pull her up, then drag her to the main room where Sinead's face lightens with pleasure. You found her. Is she all right? Think so. She lost her nerve when she saw me. Don't know why. Perhaps that would be because you were smiling and your fangs are quite visible. Did you find any documents? Yes. A veritable. I stop to find the right word, holding a hand so that Sinead waits. Plethora. Yes. It would be better to wake her up and find out which she wants to keep, or I will never hear the end of it. Of course. I grab the princess by the collar and slap her vigorously. Sinead looks at me in wonder. Is something the matter? I've always wanted to do that. Our exchange is interrupted by the woman's fluttering eyes. She looks from Sinead to me with a complicated expression. Then she reaches a decision and takes a deep breath as her brows furrow. I block her mouth with a hand. MFLRGN. You handle the screaming part, Sinead. I have 2 more things to do. I leave the lovey-dovey pair behind and turn to Alistair, who had been watching the proceedings with bemused attention. And now, dear supplicant, time to seal the deal. Please assume the proper position. Mr. Lott looks distinctly ill at ease in his pilfered uniform. I frown at his utter lack of manners. What good household would forget to teach someone how to do a proper blood offering? What household? I ask. Out of patience, I curtsy and expose my neck, which makes him smile, which makes me frown, which makes him recoil, which makes me smile. Then he obliges. Excellent. Now don't move, this won't hurt a bit. In the confines of my mind pallies, I am amazed. Werewolves have always been wild, and this one is no exception, and yet there is a noticeable improvement in Alistair. His aura is ordered and controlled. Underneath the beastly urges, there is deep peace and acceptance of his fate and an unwavering resolve to face it with all his might. I find an echo of my own belief in him, this desire to do the most with what we have and to never give up on what I believe makes my identity. I lick the wound clean and pull back a bit. He is flushed, and his smile is beautiful. I must say, this was intense, miss. Something pokes my stomach through, thankfully, 2 layers of cloth. I can tell. Sorry. I chuckle and let the man turn around to, get things under control. I am sure he has the situation well in hand. As for me, I intend to. Yes, Sinead. Princess Savea needs to collect some documents from her room. Silence ensues. I am not quite sure what he means. I fail to see how that is any of my concern. Sinead looks a bit embarrassed and his fiancé, angry. Herm, I was hoping you could lend a hand. I tap my finger against my lips in fake consideration. Let me think about it. No? I'll leave the Lakian to handle his lady friend. Ha! Serves him right. Pranking and torturing me daily for weeks? Making me pay for enough wine to roll a Scottish infantry regiment under the table? Do not expect any help. Tee. Serves him right indeed. I can hear you, you know. I ignore that sore loser and open the very last door. Inside, I find a naked woman chained to the wall by a veritable tangle of chains. I can barely see the ebony skin beneath the many links covering her lithe form. Her face is haughty and beautiful with sharp cheekbones. She is also a vampire. You look familiar. I whisper. Hope flares in her dusky eyes. She strains against her restraints with unbidden excitement. You. I know you. Ah yes, we met in New Orleans, sweet cheeks. I thought you dead. I remember her. I was tasked with punishing a man by Bardouin and she walked in and saved me. Her name was Neminata. Ariane. It is so good to see you. I thought I was finished for sure this time. Ah. I step much closer, excited. Incredible. The world is small indeed, to think that we would meet again so. Yes, well, about that. May I ask that you unbind me? Eh? Oh, of course. It's the big key. 2 to the right. No, the other right. Good. I am about to open the chain when a thought crosses my mind. HM. I scrunch my face in displeasure. There is something I need to remember. Something to do with why I am here. Arg, frustrating, I should run naked in the woods. The fresh air would do me good. Is something the matter? Yes. Oh, that's it. I have conditions. Do tell. Quickly please. There are 2 Lycaeans under my custody. No touching, and no telling anyone you saw them ever. No betraying my trust. Yea? She laughs lightly. You already have blood slaves, and 2 of them? I am impressed. I swear that your secret is safe with me. Ah, and no telling anyone where I am. You see. I lean very close and claim in her ear, with pride. I am in hiding. Tee. So exciting, is it not? I nod to myself. Yep. Very roguish of me, if I do say so myself. Ariane. Are you drunk? What? Me? P55. Of course not. I only had, Hugh. Right. Please free me, I promise absolute secrecy for you and yours as well as 1 year of service. Please? All right. Company. So, how did you even get captured? I ask as I remove the lock and start untwisting the chains. I was trying to bet every member of the order from the same chapter, one by one. I was halfway done when a handsome fellow managed to trap me with the coming of dawn. Crafty bastard. I woke up covered with more steel than a bank door. I don't know how long I would have lasted without your help. I will be eternally forever in your debt for this timely assistance. Yeah. Let's go. There could be more prisoners. I already, visited the other cells. That explains it. She mumbles, you could have left some for me. I'll just ask John to provide you with a few sips. He's a good lad. Also, can you explain why you wanted to lie with members of the Order of Gabriel? That doesn't strike me as a wise idea. For bragging rights. Nobody has done it before. I checked on the Econ repository. Also, guilty sex is nice. Econ repository? We members of the Econ clans are trying to experience as much as we can. Our progenitor lost his life to experience dawn, in fact. All new records are written inside the depository for future generations to peruse, with notes by the record holder on how interesting the experience was. I nod in echo with this absolutely outrageous statement. They keep records of all the insane things they've done. Unbelievable. Before I can sate my curiosity further, we reach the main room and Nami walks boldly forth, then stops with her hand on her waist in a confident posture. She is of course completely naked, and her shamelessness is so blatant that it transcends good manners and turns into some sort of assertiveness. Or at least, that is how I perceive it. Soraya hides behind Sinead, who looks at me with a measure of apprehension. Thankfully Naminata remains true to her word and does not engage, only looks on with curiosity. Then she turns to me with a pure expression of wonder and starts with a girlish scream. They are not collared. They are free. Yes? Do you know what that means? I incline my head to the side. Surely, she would not dare. That means I can do it. I can have my record. Be the first Econ to have a civilized discussion with free members of their race. I will stay vague of course, to protect you, but still, oh, Ariane, thank you. Glad to be of help I suppose. Yes, excellent, now I have a request. Speak. Can I get some clothes? Ah yes. That does sound reasonable. Even Alistair is visibly distracted. Our problems start as soon as we get back out. The odd squad is gathered around one of the Navajo warriors, who is developing what will certainly be a spectacular bruise. What happened? One of them escaped, answers a creak. He left the compound on horseback. When? Immediately after the barracks exploded. He came out swinging. Do I have to do everything in this place? Very well, I shall handle this myself. I whistle and Metis arrives at a trot. I jump on her back on the way. Time for another hunt. Tee. I can enjoy the wind in my hair and on my skin, the crisp winter air. I go through the now open gate of the prison and pass underneath the earth, only to emerge from a concealed trapdoor at full sprint. Yes. The hunt, the open land, that low branch on my path. Why is it so close? Ow. Ow 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 ow. Ow. Fine, I admit I'm drunk. Oh. Metis snorts and nuzzles my prone form as I massage my poor forehead. If I were still immortal I would have brained myself on that thing, not that it would have harmed any vital organ if my lack of prudence is any indicator. By the Watcher, I am too old to be this silly. Note to self, devouring too many magical creatures is still intoxicating. I stand back up and consider that my only saving grace is that no one witnessed this debacle. Now, time to find my prey. The last survivor fled on horseback, so there should be tracks and scents. I inspect my surroundings and eventually find clumps of disturbed earth. Unfortunately, I do not smell nor hear anything out of place in the frigid night. The tracks stop at a river. The lone horseman followed it up or down the stream to mask his tracks and escape pursuers. I consider trying my luck and choosing a side on a coin toss, then decide otherwise. It matters little if news of the fall of the president reach an order outpost earlier than planned. They did not see my face, nor do they know where I live. My priority remains the survival and protection of the rescued. With regret, I turn around but comfort myself with the knowledge that I acted reasonably and sensibly in these trying times. When I reach the others, they have thoroughly checked and looted all the buildings. Men and horses are laden with pilfered weapons and supplies. The Navajo, in particular, look pleased with their most recent acquisition of quality muskets. I find my sarcophagus placed snugly between walls of various loot including piles of rolled-up documents. Soon, the convoy departs and Nami walks up to me. "Honey, I have one more request." "Ask." The taller woman, now dressed in my own dress, places a proprietary arm around my waist as I jump and yelp. Her cold breath brushed my right ear. "Can't I share your place of slumber, sweet cheeks?" "Ah, yes, of course. No shenanigans." She chuckles but relents. Her hand moves from my waist to my shoulder and she leans forward to continue the conversation. "So, I heard that you own a brothel." "Yes. It was expedient." "Of course. I perfectly understand. So, what's your favorite kind of cock?" I sputter in shock. This is going to be a very long night. 2 days later. I slam the door behind me. Sinead, sitting at my bureau desk, patiently places a pen down and closes his eyes. After a moment gathering his courage, he turns to me like a man expecting horrible news. "It's about your fiancé." I expected as much. "Before we begin, I understand that our Navajo friend left? I know he is attempting to distract me. I will only oblige because I intended to tell him anyway." "Yes. We went to the place where I had buried the remains. The old chief's spear was pointing towards it in any case. After a brief ceremony we had a talk and they left. They asked many questions, about how many warriors your kind has and muskets. I answered faithfully, 'I hope you do not mind.' 'Not at all. This knowledge would be used against your kind, when the time comes.' 'My kind?' 'The Europeans.' I laugh. 'Vampires are my kind, and you are forgetting something. Do you truly believe you will make a difference?' Sinead stops to consider the idea, yet declines to answer. I go on. 'This is a tide that no one can stop. My friend Nashoba said that in order to stop the colonists, he would have to become like them. This state alone can marshal tens of thousands of militia with support artillery and a baggage train in weeks. Do you think the natives can match this? Do you think knowing will make a difference? Knowing always makes a difference. Only a modern army can stop another modern army. There are no foundries here, no weaponsmiths, no military academies. If you were a king and had decades of preparation it would still not be enough. In the kingdoms, decades of preparation means an invasion will never succeed. There is not enough magic in this plane to equalize the field when columns of men are brought to bear, and the blue cloud of spent powder reaches to the heavens. They could have victories here and there, but it will not suffice. You seem certain. It already happened before. East of here. Interesting. Life is truly different in this plane. Speaking of life here, I have an issue with your darling. Many have issues with his darling. Savea has managed to offend everyone's ego in record time through supreme condescension and a complete refusal to communicate with the others. She spends most of her time isolated downstairs, busy with research. She doesn't speak English. But she understands it, does she not? I reply undeterred. Sinead winces. I think I preferred you when you were a bit more gullible. Enough, her behavior is unacceptable. I will have you communicate the rules to her for the last time. If she does not comply, I will declare you in breach of your agreement as guests. Do I make myself clear? No spreading her mess outside of her designated areas clearly delimited by blue marks, no stealing my paint and no leaving the number 10 ranch on her work table like some avatar of chaos. I was looking for that thing for ages. Yes, I will tell her. I promise. Please be patient, she is not used to this. You are royalty too, and she is far from being your equal in terms of insight and subtlety. Managing one's allies is a vital part of any political scheme. She and I are not alike. We are the two most powerful Lycaeans on this plane, Ariane, but in reality our backgrounds could hardly be more different. Sinead's gaze drifts to the windows and the grey clouds outside. His face grows distant and thoughtful. A comfortable silence comes between us as he loses himself in his memories. Eventually, he returns his attention to me, gauging. Then he relaxes and nods, coming to a decision. What I am going to share with you, I never intended to reveal. You have earned that much, for sparing my life then and for helping me now. I know that our contract is to my benefit and that you are aware of this fact. My gratitude for you is real, and I will repay it if I survive and my plan is carried out to completion. Sevilla is a princess of the Blue Court, one of their most talented scions. She has spent her whole life in the heart of the Cloud Spires, its airy halls and intricate research laboratories. When I confirmed her presence on this plane, I knew we stood a chance. Make no mistake, she is brilliant, but her outlook is extremely limited. Only research matters to her, and the notes we brought back from the prison as well as those she is nailing to every wall of your sanctum are the written statement of a revolutionary approach to planar travel. Like all geniuses, her other skills are lacking. She never had to fight for supremacy or survival. Her dreams were always within her reach, and the means to pursue them, always generously provided. The Court of Blue is also isolated from most turmoil. No army has besieged their capital in eons, for they are the architects behind the best workings in history. Although circumstances conspired to her behavior, and while I do not expect you to excuse her, I ask that you act as the better person, and show her the patience and courtesy that she denied you, for me. Please. It is not just a matter of image, Sinead. I am a vampire, and you are on my territory. If you are not guests, then you are intruders, and I will not fight against myself to accommodate you. I walk to the window and turn my back to him. I will not dull my words. He must understand. Your fiancée is no longer in the Cloud Spires. She is here, in this world, with us. If my second life taught me anything, it is that weak people are crushed when they step out of bounds. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. This is a lesson you will have to impart upon her before someone else does it for you. Sinead winces, then nods in the end. I am not done though. You surprise me to accommodate her so. Why the deference? Are you not her equal? My friend chuckles bitterly. Once more, he appears more vulnerable than usual. His veneer of sarcasm is momentarily shed. I am prince, yes, one of many. The court of summer has a king, my father. Unfortunately, my mother is a dancer of the wandering court. She caught his fancy one festival year, and when they parted, she was with child. My siblings on my father's side are numerous, and many of them are well connected. I am not. I watch, fascinated, the veil masking Sinead's otherworldly traits evaporate as he loses his usual focus. His hair shines like flames and his eyes like molten gold. Motes of blue dance around his shoulders as he continues his tales. He does look regal, I admit. And dreamy. It was only when I reached adulthood that I was admitted to court. I believe my mother wanted to protect me for as long as she could from cutthroat politics. She taught me art and poetry, and dance. A bit of fencing. All useless, I thought, until I realized that she helped me form a core of individuality. She made me who I am before the others could ruin it. I would have lost myself otherwise. Competition was difficult. It still is. Now though, this tragedy might be a blessing in disguise. There is another prince named Revis who had decided that I was a threat to him, and was about to crush me. I would have had to bend, but now if we are successful, the return of so many lost ones will cover me with glory. Many a mighty clan will owe me favors. I could even earn my father's preference, who knows? So, my knight, now that I have unveiled my ultimate goal, will you stand by my side? I smile at the return of his good mood. I still think you are insane. I will help you as a friend, but I will not forfeit my life on a suicidal attack. Nor will I ask this of you, he adds with a smile. I assume he has some grand plan, and I understand the need for secrecy. I would not trust myself with anything too confidential quite yet, especially with my status as rogue. We will leave in 3 days. There is so much for us to do, and we are too exposed here. We thank you for your assistance, and I believe we will have a suitable present. A token of our appreciation. I will look forward to it. You keep slaves. I saw them on the last floor. Alistair seems wary. After spending 2 days together, I have determined that his disposition is calm and poised. He is also patient, protective, and an excellent listener. He is the last person I would have taken for a cursed one, and yet he is. Just for the smell, I had to rent him a room at a nearby residence or risk kissing with customers present. This is the first time I see him consider me with anything but affable goodwill. You mean cattle? Yes. They are robbed of something. Indeed. Your point? He frowns and stops to consider. My most curious guest has a tendency to think his words before uttering them, a good habit to have. Papa used to say that after words cross our lips, we belong to them. This is wrong and unexpected. I thought you a champion of freedom after you returned me mine. I will not dictate your actions, of course. I merely hope to understand. He dares question me. No, this is different. He made a respectful inquiry and acknowledged that I did not owe him answers, despite the mild anger he is feeling. This is just a matter of courtesy. That blood pumping faster, the mild red on his freckled cheeks. Ah, thirsty? No, Ariane, this is just gluttony. They tried to kill, cheat or trap me. This is their punishment. Why not slay them? Surely, death would be preferable to what you have done to them. Due to my nature, I need protection during the day, as well as servants who will not wonder why their mistress requires no sustenance. Consider them a necessary evil, if it pleases you. I thank you for your answer. You are my benefactor, and I will remember this first and foremost. I do not need your approval, weakling. I thank you for your consideration. While you are here, I have questions. Of course, Ariane. Do ask. I faced Luke Garrus before, and you are different. Can you tell me more? Yes. The answer to your question, as well as many others, you will learn in my tale, and I would like to share it with you, if you will allow me. Please do, you have my attention. Thank you. I was not always cursed. For the first part of my life, I was the son of a doctor in the town of York in Upper Canada. I got bitten during a hunting party. The monster slaughtered my horse but spared my life in a gesture that, I did not realize until much later, took an immense amount of self-control. When I realized the nature of my affliction, I attempted to take my own life, only to realize that the steel blade I was using was unequal to the task. I decided to find death in the wilderness, and instead, my kin found me. They took me in and welcomed me as one of them. Hold on. Werewolves live in communities. We prefer the term pack. And yes, this is tremendous news. No, extraordinary news. Werewolves are organizing themselves. This has never happened before in history, if Isaac is to be believed. I have to tell him. We have developed social structures across packs, spread all over Canada's most remote areas. The Indians leave us alone, and in return, so do we. It is a peaceful life, and one where the curse does not lead to human deaths. Our community helps us stay in control. I used to play the role of Omega. For some reason, my inner wolf is more of a loner and finds no interest in the struggle for supremacy. This allows me to smooth things out, as it were, and welcome new members to our pack, or at least it was the case until last summer. What happened? I will not go into too much detail. We used to keep in touch with each other via a loose network of messengers. The mightiest pack of the North decided that they would prefer a pyramidal hierarchy with them on top. They have already subdued many clans by killing the local alphas. They are a detestable lot, those Black Peak ones, and they need to be stopped. It was decided that I would head south as an emissary, to recruit the help of local packs in our struggle for independence. I am not aware of any packs around. That would be because there are none. Alistair smiles sadly. We are the only place where the structure developed, and now I can see why. It appears that my kind is hunted like animals here. I do not blame you. I know the trail of destruction many of us leave behind, and I know that some even embrace it. I only wish that some were given a chance. We are not cursed by our own choice. You make a good point. My instincts are telling me to end your life, and I never questioned this before. Perhaps I am being too harsh. Alistair pales a bit at that. He knows what I can do. I decide to assuage his fear. I will stop to consider before starting a hunt, from now on. That is all I can ask. Was there anything else? Any chance that Black Peak heads south? Yes, they will, eventually, and if there is any justice in this world they will cross your path. Be careful, for they are still a dangerous group with large numbers on their side. I will. We will talk more later. The man facing me wears a quality shirt and beige vest stained at the armpit by days spent under the sun. His light blue eyes are piercing, and the rest of his virile face hidden behind an auburn beard. His gaze alternates between the document on the table, the nervous flesh trader by his left, and me. His jaw works on a wad of tobacco he bit off from a brown stick. The sounds of mastication and the stench grate my already fraying nerves. What's this about? The obsequious merchant passes a hand in his greasy sand hair and speaks with a nervousness that hints at fear. Mr. Lip, with whom I am now treating, is known for occasional bouts of anger. He has destroyed more teeth than the town's dentist. As I mentioned, sir, Ms. Leth here would like to purchase the Negro known as David King. Her offer is more than generous, as you will. Bullshit sharp, you know what I mean. Ain't a Negro of mine worth $500. So what's this about really? I have already spent more time on this than I planned on. Who knew slave acquisition would be so despicable, not to mention tedious? They have people lining up naked as if they were swine. Naked. Disgraceful. And unsightly. I have never been exposed to so many genitals, and I live in a brothel. And the paperwork. I will answer, if only to make you act with celerity. His father died in my service, protecting me from an attack by Indians. It was his dying wish that I take care of his child. Lip chuckles with a smile that does not reach his eyes. Women are sentimental and irrational. David King is a dangerous one. I applied the lash generously and read the scriptures, and still, he defies me. You need an iron fist to deal with his kind. Is my safety your concern, Mr. Lip? If that is the case, let me assuage it. John. Heavy stomps batter the wooden floor, then the door bangs open. The tiny negotiation room goes from intimate to cramped in a heartbeat, as my giant bodyguard looms dangerously over my shoulder. Tell the gentleman what you do to those who displease me. John's ugly mug turns dangerous as he smiles. Whatever you ask, mistress. Both men recoil instinctively. I used to think it amusing that they would be more scared of him than they are of me, and only realized after the prison raid that it matters not to the sheep if it is slain by a wolf or a lion. I assure you, I am quite safe, and we already spent more than enough time on this nonsense. I push the pin across, with just a hint of suggestion. Lip's eyes drift to John's enormous paws, wrapped around my chair's back. Now, sign. 20 minutes later. David King is a hard man. His build is the lean of near starvation, and his skin bears the mark of undue exposure to the elements, but despite this, he remains unbroken. I feel his gaze on me. Though he is taller, he has to look up, for his horse is no match for Metis. You have a question? Ask it. Is it true that you were sent by my old man? Yes. He never cared much for us, or he wouldn't have left us behind. John turns to glare at the newcomer, who he assumes is acting out of bounds. I calm him with a gesture. Humans will do terrible things when they are desperate. With all due respect, miss, it's bullshit. He could have let us know. My mother died thinking he had been lynched somewhere. Mr. King, that is between your father and yourself. I fulfilled my promise and have little care for the rest. You will have to find your own answers. My statement is taken with a sullen silence. When King speaks, his voice is more subdued. What happens now? We cross into Illinois, then I will give you papers confirming that you are a free man. You should travel north to Chicago or east, where circumstances would be marginally better for you. Is it true that you own a business? Yes. You hire black folks? Yes. Would you treat me fairly? Interesting. I turn to him and see worry in his eyes, and hope too. I assure you, I give every person under my employ equal concern. They are higher than strangers and lower than supplicants. This is the proper order of things. I see. David King turns around and his expression turns calculating. I only now realize that there may be others he left behind and may want to free. If he ends up working for me, I will need to insist that I am not dragged into any illegal mess against my will. The more time I pass here and the more I find myself bound to the world around me by deals and debts. I do not know how to feel about it. April 1832. The spear catches me in the sternum, pushing all air away from my lungs. I am propelled backwards into a trunk, then dodge the following strike by falling to the side. My opponent's movements are always flowing, and her weapon's tip drifts around in a hypnotic dance. A feint turns into a sweep, turns into a series of quick jabs. It takes all my speed and reflexes to avoid being taken out. I find no opportunity to counterattack, close the distance and stab with my dagger. Eventually, I fall into a trap and the bladed edge strikes my temple. I fall. That is enough. Are you all right, honey? So difficult. I told you. Spears are my weapons of choice. Who taught you how to move like that? A Greek woman on the island of Samos. A mortal. Every night we would find each other, fight and make love. It was a beautiful time. I have recovered now, and stand back up. Spring is here, and the woods at the edge of town have sprung to life. I am having the dream renovated following one last suggestion of Sinead before his departure. I do believe him when he says Ivea thanked me for my hospitality, though it is hard to say. She sticks to that rhythmic and sibilant language of hers and refuses to sully her tongue with our coarse language. With nothing much to do, I have decided to resume combat training for the first time since Loth departed. I am confident in my ability to face hordes of Wendigos, mudstrike teams and members of the Order, and in knowing when to flee. Vampires are another thing altogether. Without feeling their aura, it is a fool's errand to judge their strength. A slip of a girl could grasp a boulder and smash me with it, and there is nothing I could do to stop her. By facing Neminata in combat, I am learning how to deal with a superior adversary. It's not going well. Neminata moves better, faster, strikes harder than me, and her technique is impeccable. All my tricks are seen through before I can even start. Whenever she gets serious, all I can do is find clever ways to disengage and survive for a handful more seconds. The lesson is clear. When having to face a superior vampire in combat, the solution is, don't. All is not lost, of course. I practice against several styles and armaments and even learn the basics myself. I never knew, for example, that swords, sabers and foils were different arms that required different techniques. Again. I rush her. Might as well go out with a bang. Her spear takes across my chest. I manage to angle the blow so that I am not pushed away. Hurts. This is nothing, we use blunt training equipment. I crash forward and jump back up while slicing, block her back step sweep and keep the pressure. I stay low and mobile. My footwork has improved, but not enough. At the moment I think I have her. She plants her spear on the ground and kicks around it. Her dainty foot catches me in the nose. Pain. More pain when she stabs my prone form. Not too bad, sweetie. I have a few things to add. MFFF. Ah yes, a broken nose hurts a lot. Do be careful when facing us. Some maneuvers that would be impractical for a mortal are well within our grasps. Second point, if you get stabbed by a spear, you will be skewered. A real weapon would have had you pinned like a precious butterfly to this tree, yes? I wipe black blood from my face and nod silently. Nami describes herself as a fair duelist, and she is a relatively new mistress. I can imagine what facing an actual knight would be like. I believe I would just forfeit any attempt at honorable combat, shoot them if I can, and run if I cannot. Again? Yes. We go on for 2 hours, 2 hours of constant defeats and failures on my part. Nami's style evolves to match mine as fast as I get used to her flowing movements and ethereal grace. I need to go faster, assert dominance. Oof. Your mastery over your instincts is impressive. But be careful. Anger will only make you more predictable. Direct it, use it as fuel. Again. Use swipes to keep the blade away. If I grab the haft, I win. Stay close to the ground for faster movement. Force her to target a smaller area. Her blade tip catches my hand and breaks 3 fingers. The next breaks my jaw. MPFF. Ah, sweet cheeks. You would need to be much faster than me to catch my spear. False. Her next strike is going for my temple. The wood haft smacks in my ready hand and I grab it just as it bumps back. Then with muffled scream, I strike and it splinters. Ha! Not bad, honey. Not bad at all. I wait for my jaw to heal. I've had enough of the pain for one night and the thirst is waking up after expending so much energy. I could use a break. I conquer. You are showing signs of mental exhaustion. I will admit that I am impressed by your performance so far. Your style is very close to that of rogues, and yet it is so much smarter and more unpredictable. You are better than any courtier I have ever seen. You could perhaps even match some masters in hand-to-hand combat. It is a shame that your understanding of weapons is so lacking, and I fully intend to help you remedy this. You need to understand at least the basics and eventually, find your favorite blade and develop your own style. We will have to experiment. Don't you think? There is a twinkle in her eyes I recognize only too well. Fighting always gets her blood pumping, so to speak. I am not tempted, although I believe she is a beautiful woman. I wish you could meet Amena. Of the Cadiz? That little strumpet has gone monogamous, if you will believe it, with her brand new human servant. What a loss for us all. Best tongue this side of the Atlantic. Ahem. How do you even know Jimena? Do all vampires know each other? Is this like high society? Numinatus coughs. There are only 200 of us on the continent, and less than half are masters. Of course, we know each other. It's a small world, you see. Unbelievable. So Ainsa is a servant now? Would it not be better to have turned her? Ah, so wise and yet so ignorant sometimes. I believe I will need to teach you more about our kind. Servants are meant to help us keep our humanity, while we sire fledglings to lose it together with us. Such a nice turn of phrase. Is it not? We walk together back to the dream with a pleasant discussion. Just like Sinayad before her, I let Nami occupy herself however she wishes when we are not training, and she already has many suitors, including quite a few white men. I reflect, as we walk, that her carefree attitude and pleasant disposition are at odds with the rest of our kin, and yet she still has the backing of Kawe Kao, the leader of Clan Ekondir. I find the contrasts comforting. There is some room in our community for French personalities after all. As soon as we reach the dream, one of the cattle notices me and rushes forward with a message. Mistress. There is a woman with 2 children asking for shelter. Yes. And? She indicates that she knew you under the name Marianne of the Nirari. She also said that we would be attacked very soon by, and she was serious, wizards. And here I was complaining about getting thirsty? Chapter 54. I immediately recognize the visiting midge. Her hair color is more intense than I remember, reminding me of Sinead's true form. The rebellious girl has turned assertive, and her beauty is now that of a mature woman, calm and composed. The black marks under her eyes and other signs of weariness do little to damage her elegance and poise. When I enter the study, she turns to me and her mask cracks. Under the apparent control is a woman at the end of her rope. 2 children, a boy of around 10 and a much younger girl, are held protectively behind her. I cannot help but smile when seeing her. Because I am such a good host, I give her the fangless version. Merritt, it is so good to see you again. Ariane. You haven't changed at all. She looks a bit surprised. And you have only grown more beautiful. It is true. I did not realize it until now, but she does not look a day above 30. Do mages age slower? It does not seem to be the case for my local informant, though that person is untrained. I asked for shelter. Hold on, I was told by your friend from the consortium that you prefer when things are done properly. She starts kneeling and I stop her. You stood by my side against the Herald Merritt, there is no need for this. Not for you. Ah, very well. She blinks owlishly. She looks a bit lost, not in the way of those who have missed a night, but in that of people who have gone beyond their limits for weeks. Fatigue has stolen her wit. I need shelter for my children. And I am sorry. I need to tell you. The Pike family is after me. They have tracked me here. I brought danger to your home. It is quite all right. You want protection then? Yes. I would do almost anything for my children. It so happens that I am in dire need of an experienced mage. You would be welcome here, and receive honest pay for mostly honest work. I have a security detail during the day, and by night, there is me. Interested? No enslaving minds? Blood magic? Summoning eldritch horrors from beyond the veil? I was thinking more along the lines of wards and enchantments. The occasional fireballing of religious fanatics. Standard stuff. Yes. So? Merritt takes a deep breath and stumbles forward, all tension leaving her body. Her children look up in alarm as I help her brace with one hand. There is still the matter of the Pikes. They are on my heels. I will help you. Fend them off. Neminata enters at this moment, with a smile and a glass of brandy. She favors bright color and exotic dresses, and today, she wears yellow and white with a red sash around her tiny waist. Darling, you are in no condition to go anywhere. Here, have a little pick-me-up. Ari and I will see to the intruders. Merritt, meet Neminata, my friend. She is right, you are in no condition to help, and besides, you mages have an unfortunate tendency to set each other on fire. A terrible waste of blood if you ask me. Exactly, mages are a delicacy, and you lot tend to walk around fire whipping everything in sight. A disgrace is what it is. The harried mage blinks very slowly, her haggard eyes bulging as our conversation progresses. I don't know. Merritt? What is wrong? It's just... She closes her eyes and grabs her children's shoulders. They stare at us with silent wonder. I am no expert on little ones, but I can tell there is something peculiar about them. They are a bit too serious, too focused. Perhaps they had to grow too fast. Unaware of my inspection, Merritt continues. I have been on the run for 4 years and on the road for 2 months. I had lost hope. I simply cannot believe that I could be safe now. Oh, it is decided. You take care of your family and settle down. Kitty will help you with that, and I will leave John to protect you just in case. You can rest assured that your pursuers will no longer bother you after tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Ariane, so much. Before you leave, I have to tell you about them. I would not have you face them unprepared. Merritt sits down heavily and upends the brandy glass in one swift motion, before setting it down with a click. Wow, that was so manly. They are my in-laws. Oh. This is juicy, crispy gossip. I can tell that the twinkle in Nami's eyes reflects my own avid expression. What happened? Do tell. Cornelius died is what happened. He was my husband. She hugs her children tightly. They share her distinctive red hair, and while the young girl leans into her embrace, the boy looks at me with what I assume is meant to be a threatening expression. I find it adorable. Cub. He was at odds with his family. So long as he lived, they kept their distance. That changed when he was killed in an ambush in 28. We were culling rogue practitioners when the Order of Gabriel attacked all of us at once. It happened so fast. Now, the Pikes want to recover Ali and Len, and this is not happening so long as I live. The stories Corny told me about the way he was raised. I will never submit them to this. I place a comforting hand on her shoulder and greet her frowning child with a wink. You do not have to justify yourself to me, Merritt dear. Our deal is struck and will be honored. Speaking of which, we'd better get on the way. The dream is made out of wood, and it is the material that is tragically flammable. Ta-ta. I leave the exhausted woman with a wave and give orders so that she and her children are protected and fed, then get back to it. Finally, some proper entertainment. Naminata, my dear, it is my great privilege to invite you to a hunt. And it is my pleasure to accept, sweetie. Let's get changed. I would not want to stain this new dress. An hour later. I close my eyes and focus the way Sanaya taught me. My own vampire aura is around me, always, a mark of my nature and a symbol of status. Tonight, I want it to be more subdued. Slowly, my perception shifts to the same sense I use when charming. The aura is here, quiescent. I take it in. The sensation is strange and defies description, not because it is confusing but because I lack the words. It is not like using a muscle I did not know I had. My presence constricts inward and I start feeling as if I were too small for my gown. The sensation is only mildly uncomfortable. After a while, it becomes too difficult to continue. My concentration falters under the unusual strain. Sanaya assured me that with regular practice, I could eventually mask my presence from all but the most sensitive of foes, or even alter its properties for a variety of use, and so I have practiced dutifully every night. This is the first time I am granted an opportunity to apply that knowledge in a real situation. With my presence so hidden, I step into the second-floor alley where our unwitting intruder and impromptu snack is currently tracking my friend. Good evening, kind sir, and where might you be going? The mage facing me jumps in surprise and takes his eyes away from the device in his hands. The brass-colored apparatus shares enough similarities with a compass that it might be mistaken for one, were it not for the powerful aura it emits. It tastes like perseverance and a weatherman. A most peculiar mix. The man himself wears travel clothes of good fabric stained by heavy use. His face is covered with several days' worth of stubble below angry dark eyes that inspect then immediately dismiss me. None of your business, begone harlot. I like it the most when they are rude. Oh, but I do believe this is our business, kind sir, adds Nami as she steps behind him. Perhaps because he feels trapped, or perhaps his mind made a last-ditch effort to warn him of his imminent doom. He raises a gauntleted hand. Last warning, hussy, back off. I grab his wrist, which I break, then stab his palm with my thumb. His muffled scream is drowned by the music downstairs and Nami's hand on his mouth. But kind sir, we are not quite done yet. I smile and enjoy the scent of terror, the frenetic heartbeat, and the bulging eyes. Nami joins my game. Her other hand digs into his shoulder with a sound of torn fabric and she leans delicately over his shoulder. Yes, Maj, be our guest for the night. We insist. You will be accommodating, yes? Our captive clings to our words like a drowning man to a plank. His eyes search mine for a hint of mercy and find subjugation instead. He is not even wearing a protective charm. You want me to be happy with you, yes? Yes. It's important that we become good friends. Yes. You are with the Pike family? Yes. You came here by yourself? Yes. So courageous. You are a brave man, yes? Yes. What is your name, brave man? The flow of conversation breaks a bit as the pattern of questions changes, but not enough to affect the charm noticeably. My victim is already caught, hook, line, and sinker. Matthias, miss. Tell me, Matthias, are you here to scout? Yes. To what end? Find that insufferable whore and her spawns, for the family. They might be redeemed yet. I see, and you have friends around, yes? Of course, this is a serious matter, you see. Patriarch Benedict is here, as well as his 2 other sons. Is that so? Surely, such august characters do not travel alone? No, for such a task they brought their retinue, 2 mages trained for war and a dozen armed men. She doesn't stand a chance. You sound very proud, Matthias. I am, miss. 'Tis my privilege to serve them. So it would seem, Matthias, but tell me, where might I find this illustrious group? We made our camp an hour down the road eastward, in an abandoned farm. Oh, I know the place. And now, dear Matthias, there is a secret I wanted to share with you. I'll tell it in your ear. 15 minutes later. Nami and I walked down the road at an energetic pace. I lent her one of my armored black gowns modified to fit her figure. With those and our spears and assorted blades, we both cut dashing figures. I considered bringing Metas. Unfortunately, Nami does not have a nightmare, and it would just be rude to have her trot by my side. Despite her promise to serve me for a year, we have maintained a cordial and respectful relationship so far, and I intend to keep it that way. She is a master and, just as importantly, someone I consider a friend. Our relationship is more like that of a relaxed mentor and experienced student, even though some of her lessons are more than dubious. A good-looking ball sack is of great importance in love-making. You do not want to fondle one that looks like a shriveled old prune, you see. It is truly man's most underrated attractive feature. My favorite kind is. Were we not discussing interrogation techniques? I was discussing scrotum relative to interrogation. A trick I learned quite early is that males, males, will endeavor to offer clear and complete answers if you hold said anatomical feature between your talons. Would it not be, I don't know, sweaty? In mortals, assuredly. Not in vampires though, which leads me to vampire-specific techniques. I would prefer if we limited the scope of our discussion to interrogation techniques, specifically. Ah, you are no fun. Though, I will admit that you impress me, sweetie. Your charm is simply incredible for your age. I have a very good teacher. You must be very talented as well. Can you use it in combat yet? Against mortals. Marvelous. I decide to steer the conversation in case Nami has not fully detailed her preferences yet. Say I have a question. What's with gloating? Why do I always feel like doing it? Is it just me? Nami chuckles fondly. Silly goose. Proper gloating is a staple of a good vampire. How can you be an immortal horror and not gloat? How, I ask? I don't know, it just feels silly. How many times must our prey escape, or do we place ourselves in danger because of our tendency to play with our food? But what fun. Consider this, successful vampires live for a very long time. It would be a terrible bore if we had to act like merciless knights most of the time. Where would be the entertainment? Why would you favor an eternity of ennui over constant excitement? With all due respect, Naminata, I am not sure this is sound advice coming from you. Dying over a stupid record. P55-P55. This was just a minor hiccup. You were chained, naked, to a wall. I do that for fun all the time. Pa. Insufferable woman. I do not mind a little challenge, I am only worried that others could pay the price of my arrogance. Then cover your obligations when you must and enjoy yourself the rest of the time. A good life needs a proper balance. You think you gloated now with dearly departed Matthias? A little bit? Oh, you sweet summer child. You call this gloating? Surely, you jest. Was it not? What would you have done then? First, pretend to be scared and lure him to an isolated room, then toy with him a bit, then reveal what you are, toy a bit more, and finally eat him. What if he sets the room on fire? What if? Everything can always go wrong, and also go so right. If you are uncomfortable enjoying your prey too close to your pet witch, just drag him away to some farm and play tag there. Use your imagination. I don't know. That was merely an example, my little jampot. The point of gloating is entertainment. Go with whatever makes you happy. If you absolutely need to make sure your obligations are honored before you can let go, then so be it. Now, where was that farm again? It turns out that the abandoned estate I assumed Matthias had referred to stood empty. I would have been both angry and afraid, were it not for a suspicious trail of smoke rising further along the road. Minata and I find 2 sentries keeping warm around a large pair at the Patterson farm. Perhaps the Pike family found the house empty and thought it abandoned. They were wrong. The Pattersons are a new addition to the area and the place reflects this. The English-style house is small but cozy, with the unusual luxury of colored glass windows. They made the effort of decorating the new structures with marks of individuality like blue flowers of an unusual essence, small wooden carvings hanging from the roof by twine, and even a fake scarecrow with a humorously big gut. I know this because Jenny Patterson used to be mine. They have a child who is 4 now, and whose name I forgot. They tend to go to the city often to visit the father's family, leaving the house devoid of inhabitants. This might be problematic as I would need an invitation to give old Benedict Pike my regards, if it is indeed his men outside. With a gesture, I indicate that we should check the back of the house and realize that we will not, after all, need invitation. The Pattersons came home tonight. They shouldn't have. Behind their home, Jenny kept a small garden. Some enterprising thug started digging a trench large enough to bury the family and stopped halfway. They piled the dead haphazardly to the side, both parents, the child and their dog. Jenny's leg emerges from below the others, pale and naked under moonlight. Her shoe fell off at some point to reveal a patched-up sock in a display that is so odious and disrespectful that it fills my heart with rage. I do not know why this tiny detail of desecrated intimacy strikes me more than the myriad others. It just does. The Pattersons were slain out of convenience and cast off to rot at the back of their own house like so much garbage. They did not even warrant the effort of a finished grave and a shroud. I find the depth of this insult abhorrent. We will have no trouble getting in. Sensing the mood, Nami does not reply. Her expression turns cold and her aura gains this fleeting mobility that defines her fighting style. I strut to the front of the house, making no effort to hide my presence. The 2 sentries soon notice my approaching form and recoil, allowing me a glimpse into what they had been burning to keep warm, the Patterson carriage. Those are thugs of the common variety. They know they will have to silence me, but their ability to improvise is limited by a stunted brain entirely devoted to cards and uninspired threats. You made a mistake, miss. There is nothing here for you. As expected. I disagree, I reply. I grab behind me to seize my silver pistol and point it at the closest man. I pull the trigger. The detonation rings loudly in the night. The heavy lead ball takes his right eye at most of his skull. Before the corpse even drops, I grab the second man and allow my fury to show. You look cold, boy. Into the pier he goes, face first. The tremulous screams add to the vacuum as sounds of alarm come from the inside. In mere seconds, the door bangs open and a group of men exits their stolen abode. At their head stands who I assume to be Benedict Pike, grandfather of Ollie and Lynn, a dead man walking. He shares some similar traits with his grandchildren, like a delicate nose and piercing eyes. His aristocratic features are currently scrunched in displeasure, as if he were smelling something particularly nauseous. Come to think of it, the stench of roasting pig permeates the air, so perhaps he does. His minions and 2 spawns, whose hair are black where his are gray, spread out and point their muskets at us, looking a bit unsure on how to proceed. Kill them, adds the older man summarily. Before they can react, I take out my modified boar spear and move forward, skewering the nearest higher-ailing midge before tossing his bleeding remains on the mortal thug. I stab the rest of them before they can move. On my side, Nami silently matches my gesture, and from the corner of my eye, I notice the 3 Pikes retreating back into the house. Ah, the human instinct to go to ground can always be counted on. I climb the 2 steps leading to the house's gate and push it open with the butt of my weapon. The instigators of tonight's festivities have formed the expected shielded circle in the center of the living room. Begone, foul creature. You can keep the woman, we shall depart from your lands at sunrise. I turn to Nami with a fake expression of delight. Do you hear this, my dear? Our intruder deigns to let us leave. We are blessed. Indeed, honey, such honor he bestows upon our worthless heads. We are free to go. Should we take him on his more than generous offer? Tonight, I feel like gloating. I do not know, there is still the matter of feckless vermin sneaking into my lands and killing what is mine, then expecting to depart in all impunity? As if his sins carried no weight and his survival was but a matter of fact. Benedict sneers in a way that speaks of inborn privilege and a lifelong lack of challenging encounters. I do so love when his kind comes to me. I delight in shattering foolish pride so much. You do not scare me, dead thing. Your kind cannot enter houses without invitations. Your words are just empty bluster. Semantics? Nami Cherry, I thought I told you to warn me when we would reach this part of the discussion? My failings are many. Yes, you see, Benedict, it is homes we cannot enter, and this one, I add as I step forward, is not yours. I point my boar spear at him, charge and activate one of the two gifts the haughty princess of the court of blue left me. The tip glows strangely and space twists around it as our brains stutter, unable to process what our eyes see. An instant later, the silvery spike finds its way deep into Benedict's chest as if his shield were never here. For all I know, it technically wasn't. I finish the motion and pin him to the wall like a butterfly. Naminata uses the momentary confusion to disable one of the two suns. The last one raises a gauntleted hand and meets my gaze. Falter. He flinches and his spell fizzles. I focus and the edge of my claw glows blue. I swipe the shield. Hurts. No, this is nothing. HSSS. Unprepared mages are just prey. I devour this one before turning to Merit's nemesis. How fleeting the world is. One moment we are in control and the next, we die and sometimes even wake up in a strange dungeon with new and unusual appetites. It was a good hunt. I take my time. When I come to, Nami is licking her own lips and greets me with a feline smile. I partake with you. Thank you. She chuckles at my reply. Your manners still lack polish, treacle cake. We will work on that as well. Indeed. In the meanwhile, we are done here. Will that judge of yours use the opportunity to cause more troubles? No doubt, but it had to be done. I dragged the bodies out. Apparently, the bandits who killed the Pattersons fought among themselves until they perished or left. Over the loot, no doubt. I make sure to pocket most of their valuables so the story is at least somewhat believable and look up to see Nami with an amused and slightly condescending expression. What, it's spoils of war. Assuredly. If they hid too much wealth, my bandit explanation would be too far stretched. No doubt. I don't need to justify taking their possessions, they are mine by right of conquest. Yes. She is absolutely convinced of the necessity of such actions. Now we just need to head back so I can add the choicest pieces to my collection. I recently purchased an extension at the edge of town, a white communal house to lodge my employees. Some leave and retire. But we also have sick girls, those who can no longer work for one reason or another, girls on leave and something more, children. They come with new employees as a side effect of the profession, and someone needs to take care of them. Until now I found them to be noisy, smelly and generally obnoxious. I was therefore more than happy to have them contained somewhere I would not have to deal with them. Loth used to say that kids are like winds, one can only tolerate their own. The comparison is apt if typically vulgar. It is in this dubious haven that Merit moved into until she could secure better accommodation. I find myself in a clean if austere room. Baths in the kitchen are common parts, and still there is barely enough space for a wardrobe and seats. The bed is the largest piece of furniture here, blocking the entire space below the window. I find the witch busy brushing the hair of her daughter-in. The copper curls resist the veteran spellcaster every step of the way, and it appears that my newest ally may be defeated yet. I decide to offer her some respite. Good evening, Merit. How are you settling in? Fine, she answers. Then any further exchange is interrupted by the whistle of a heated teapot. "Oh, hold this for me." I look at my hand where suddenly a brush has landed. My gaze drifts to the little girl's big innocent eyes. Oh, no, the crafty witch would not dare. Alas, the malicious spawn silently points at the rat's nest above her brows. Curses. With a sigh, I resolved myself to my punishment after being so deftly outmaneuvered. I start working on a painless liberation, using my claws to separate the most uncooperative strands. I swear Alexander the Great himself did not struggle so much with the Gordian knot. To what do I owe the pleasure? You want to talk about the wards you need. I turn to her while still working and realize Ollie has snatched a knitting needle from somewhere and is in the process of caressing the implement. Cub. Fearless. I like it. My heart swells with pride at having acquired such valuable followers. Yes, they will do nicely. After they grow up a bit. There is just a hint of fear on his face when he sees my smile and he still attempts to hide it. Merit serves herself a cup of tea, unaware of the power play that occurred between me, the shaggy mop on top of Lynn's head and her pint-sized defender. Yes. As you know, I have established a business here, and I am quite satisfied with how I managed it so far with a considerable exception. The witch sits by her daughter's side, intrigued. Do tell. I need a day manager. I had a friend come here before and take care of the dream as I was slumbering. He left recently, and his absence made me realize how much I lose and how much more effort I have to produce to offset my daylight absence. I could achieve much more with competent help, and I believe you can do the job. Hold on. You want me to take the head of your brothel? Yes, though only during the day. You would be compensated accordingly, of course. Merit's composure shows wariness and excitement in equal measure. Why me? There are no others who display all the qualities required to handle both Kitty's team and Harrigan's. He is my head of security. The black-bearded, black-haired, vicious and barely legalized highwayman who broke a man's arm because he was annoying him. Precisely. You understand my conundrum. I need someone with your spine to keep him in check and execute him if he goes too far. And I need the same person to handle that cackling, unruly mass of gossip mongers who work for me. Few people who qualify can do both to my satisfaction, and I trust you to have the means to achieve this, and the loyalty not to stab me in the back. This is a generous offer, Ari. I am just not sure that I can live up to your expectations. Do not feel pressured into accepting immediately. I wanted you to know and keep my offer in mind as you get to know the town. Very well. I did not tell her the entire truth. When I am gone, I intend for her to take over if she so desires. No need for anyone to know though. I gain nothing by having them plot accordingly. We discuss for a few more minutes, but it soon becomes clear that she is still too busy to share her tale. I bid her farewell and quickly leave the premises. The large structure is surrounded by a vegetable patch and low walls. As I walk forward, I hear a strange crackling noise coming from a storage shed by the path and stop, considering. It almost sounds like burning black powder. Then the shed explodes. Chapter 55. First comes a wave, then the feeling of being compressed, like under a cosmic rolling pin. The blast sends me into the air like a rag doll. Up becomes down, down becomes left, and earth is in the sky. For a moment, I feel lost. The certainty of my mind fractured. The next instant I see something at the edge of my field of vision that grants me enough willpower to regain my focus. No. I refuse. I gasp in pain and dig a claw in the ground, leaving behind tortured furrows. My trajectory changes at the last moment and I impact the house with a dull thud and falling plaster. I gasp in pain, but I care not. I succeeded. Ha! I exclaim to fate and the heavens both, before coughing pinkish foam. Ow! The flaming remains of a shovel shaft fall on my arm. I am on fire. No, I am not on fire. Calm down. I pat the embers with a nervous hand until they die off. I did it. My eyes go up to the intact form of the outhouse only a few feet away. I bloody did it. I avoided crashing into human refuse, and my honor and dignity remain intact. Ariane, defeating the odds once more. My ears pop and the whispers of worried voices and crackle of dying flames make their return. People are going to react. The estate's door bursts open and Merritt comes out, hand covered by a shimmering gauntlet. Behind her, a few women peer out fearfully with loaded muskets. Irma the housekeeper stomps out with 2 cleavers held in her massive hands. "What happened here?" she asks with her large wrinkled face scrunched in displeasure. I raise a hand to signal that I need a few moments, and the reality of my situation finally occurs to them. In moments I find myself surrounded by a gaggle of yapping humans prodding and pulling at me. I resist the urge to hiss and successfully climb to my feet. If I had been immortal, it would have been a bad idea to move me so. Come to think of it, if I had been immortal, I would not have heard the powder and I would be a squishy corpse with my brains leaking down my nose. "Are you all right? What happened?" "The storage shed exploded," I answer laconically. It distracts them for long enough for me to take some distance and consider what happened. Someone blew up a powder charge on my damn lawn and destroyed both my gardening tools and my credibility. This will not stand. I slowly approach the fuming crater while a few of the more quick-witted girls pour water on still burning wreckage. It is, as expected, quite large. I smell spent black powder in the air and presume it would have taken at least a small crate to achieve this result, a non-negligible amount. There is one more important thing I have to find out before everyone and their dogs come to trample the place. With a protective Irma and Merritt in tow, I circle the hole and find what I was looking for snaking along the debris. Burning powder left a long trail of scorched grass leading to the epicenter of the deflagration. This tells me a few things. First, somebody waited for me to come out before igniting the charge, so I was presumably the target. Second, that person must have been close by. It appears that I have been upgraded to assassination target. Marvelous. I should get a plaque to commemorate the event. I try to step forward and see if I can get the scent of my mysterious admirer. Alas, it is not to be. I am literally dragged away and inside by irate and protective followers despite my best efforts to convince them that I am, in fact, unharmed. I could try to charm them all or threaten them but decide against antagonizing my entire staff. In short order I find myself tucked in bed with a hot cup of chamomile infusion. This feels nice, a testament to the success of my infiltration and my meek public persona, hiding beneath the whatever. It is just nice. I enjoy the feeling of people fussing around me until only Merritt and I are left, with someone sent to fetch John to escort me back. The mage builds up enough courage to ask what had been distressing her the past minutes. "So, I have to ask Ariane." "Yes? Is that sort of thing normal here?" "If you were referring to structures exploding, it almost never happens. We had that warehouse back in 1821, but that was due to an unfortunate mix of highly explosive substance and poor judgment. No, this is a deliberate attempt on my life, I am sure of it." Merritt stares at me with the face one shows when amusing a delusional patient. Of course, say, can vampires get concussions?" I tisk in annoyance. One moment in bed and my entire reputation collapses. Really? It was easier to let myself be pampered than to fight them off. My death would be catastrophic for them, at this stage. At this stage? Yes, I realize now that I made a mistake by not grooming a replacement. My lack of trust in others endangers my project. I understand their concern and that is why I consent to this farce, but rest assured that I remain in full possession of my abilities. Which leads me to my next point. This amount of black powder cannot be obtained so easily, even here on the frontier. Somebody obtained this and we must find who. Do you need my help? Yes, I do. I want you to go to a shop called the Seamstress Union, 2 minutes on foot east of the Dream. The owner of the shop is called Debbie. Tell her Ariane sent you and inform her of what happened, then enlist her help in finding out if a shipment of explosives disappeared recently. "You want me to interrogate a seamstress?" asks Merritt with disbelief. I scowl. "Debbie is the city's information dealer, and you would do well to take her seriously." "Oh, I understand. You can work tomorrow during the day while the stores are open." I will ask Harrigan and a girl called Lizzie to see if the warehouse master knows anything. Is Lizzie an informant as well? No. The man likes petite brunettes. Oh. I'll have John and Margaret go to the mines foreman, and that should be all I can think of. After they're done, they'll return to the Dream. Coordinate with them and prepare a report, but do not engage if you find the culprit. I will take care of it at nightfall. You are not as durable as me, and there is no reason for you to risk your lives. Understood. John arrives shortly thereafter and I am escorted back to the Dream. I was hoping for some calm so that I may investigate on my end, but unfortunately a problem never comes alone. The man I could have done without is waiting for me by the entrance. His face is painted with hostility and when he sees me, the corner of his mouth lifts up. Only 2 of his men have come to back him up this time. Ms. Lethe. Judge Sullivan, good evening. To what do I owe this pleasure? I ask with enough emphasis on pleasure to leave no doubt as to my real feelings. My nemesis makes a conscious effort to hide his delight and I am starting to wonder if assassinating a public figure really is too risky. Perhaps he could fall to his death from a tall building? Who knows? I am here to personally inform you that one of my modest proposals has been approved by the State Judiciary Committee in order to cleanse the sin from our fair city. He is righteous anger incarnate. For too long I have tolerated the pit of degeneracy that some citizens have let fester around here, and it is my pleasure to inform you that starting on May 1, 1832, only citizens of white descent and of pure pedigree would be allowed within the streets of Marquette. You will inform your employees of color that they must vacate the town on April 28 at the latest. 1 week from now. That includes employees of both genders, mind you, in case I was not clear enough. I expect you to comply with the law to the utmost of your abilities, and I will be checking on this establishment to ascertain your compliance. I hope I am being direct enough, and with this, I bid you good day. The judge shoves the crumpled ordinance into my hands, tips his hat and struts away with the pride of the just. Prick. Is Oscar a man of color? Yes he is, John. That means he must go? Asks the simpleton with a hint of worry. Not quite yet. Don't worry dear, I have been a bit lenient but it appears I need to give our brave magistrate a reminder of who he is dealing with. I pat my bodyguard's arm to offer comfort and walk back in, already plodding. This will have to take priority over patrolling the city in search of some mystery bomber. April is dying and with it, the once pristine snow has melted into a disgusting sludge that sticks to our boots. The main thoroughfares are a little better than mud alleys. Mortals can be heard from afar, one only has to follow the squelches of their souls leaving the ground, and I am grateful for whatever supernatural power allows me to walk over instead of through it. A light drizzle falls on the hood of my cape. The occasional fat droplets condense on the hem before falling on my skin, delivering their frigid payload. I may no longer fear the cold, but I do abhor humidity. This weather is miserable, and when I get my claws on whoever forced me out, they will be hell to pay. The warehouse at the northern end of town I am looking for can easily be noticed, for it is the only one whose entrance is lit by a lantern despite the late hour. It swings with the occasional gust of wind, its meager pool of light more a beacon than any effort at illumination. As is proper, I ignore the inviting door and step to a side alley. I find purchase in the wall's wooden planks and lift myself to an opening covered with shutters, before taking out a burglar kit from a recess in my cloak. It saddens me to say that I am an old hand at this. I pull myself inside and take a look around. I find myself on a small concourse devoid of any sort of furniture. Only pails of rotten hay lay discarded here and there, making the air wet and pungent. The wood used here looks brittle and decayed, its surface scored by pockmarks like the skin of a diseased man. If I were immortal, I would be worried about catching tuberculosis just walking around this place. I would never tolerate such slovenliness in one of my own properties. Downstairs, rows of crates and barrels are piled haphazardly around the open space. There are no clear delimitations, and the only thing standing out is a table on which 2 men are working by the light of candles. One of them shivers and pulls on a cloak. Right, gonna take a leak. Ah, excellent timing. The burly man limps towards a side door, opens it and disappears outside. I sneak back out and soon find myself overlooking my first victim as it leans heavily, one hand resting against the wall and the other helping his aim. I do so enjoy catching them with their pants down, pun intended. I drop behind him and snake an arm around to grab his throat. With the other, I place a knife against his jugular and force him to arch backwards. MFRLGN. I expected his frantic struggle and stay upright as he fights for purchase, in vain. Very soon, the reality of his situation overcomes the first instinctive response and silence returns as the last drops of urine fall on his trousers. I will not need charm here, I caught him at his most vulnerable. I want a word with Stutton and I expect privacy. You will leave now without looking back. My captive nods frantically and I release him. I watch with interest as he struggles to sprint and lifts his trousers back up at the same time. It seems to cause him some difficulties, and I find the show amusing in a base way. Enough distractions, I have things to do. I sneak back inside and make my way around the warehouse in perfect silence. As I approach the second man from behind, he passes a hand in his greasy gray hair and turns his attention away from a pile of yellow papers. His coat is heavy and filthy and must have been blue at some point in the distant past. What's taking him so long? In lieu of an answer, I smash his head against the table. The old smuggler does not even attempt to struggle upon feeling the cold weight of steel on his neck. Good evening, Stutton. Who are you? What do you want? You will remain silent until I let you speak, and when you do, you will tell me the truth, and all of it. Now, 2 weeks ago you were tasked with transporting cargo. Who paid for it and what did it contain? Listen, miss, my reputation as a smuggler is everything. I will get my answers from you now, or when you are but a pile of raw, quivering flesh begging for the sweet release of death. It was some sort of powder, and I don't think it was made of wheat. As for the buyer, he was a sullen man, black beard and very light gray eyes. Tall and thin. Not much of a talker. Tell me more about this mysterious man. Went by Bradley. Moved very quietly, all cat-like. Huh? I don't know where he went. Is he here? In Marquette? I brought him as a caravan hand. He paid me in gold doubloons too. The old Spanish kind. This is highly unusual. If he used more of that rare currency, I can definitely track him. Anyone else with him? Nah, he was definitely a loner, didn't mention anyone else here. Anything else you can tell me to find him? Think carefully. Stutton stops for a while to consider, and that is good for him, because if he had just replied no I would have had to take a finger. He was armed at all times, like he expected a tussle. And he looked kind of angry. Not much to go by. I turn Stutton and our eyes meet. He is already at my mercy, and this makes charming him trivial. Did you tell me the truth? Yes. Is there something you hid from me? Yes. I like rough women. I sigh deeply, now aware of the man's aroused state. The Watcher protect me from this town. Sometimes I feel like half of them are judgmental bigots and the other, shameless deviants. Anything else that concerns this man? No. Good. I wipe the memory of the last 10 minutes from his mind and force him to sleep. I could have charmed him from the beginning, however Sine had warned me against using it as a crutch. I try mundane means first, then make sure I did not miss anything. This method allowed me to become better at telling lies. As I exit the building I consider his words. My target is a man, apparently alone, who pays in doubloons and doesn't like to talk. If he is indeed a newcomer then he must be living somewhere, and that is not in one of the city's inns. His strange behavior and the amount of powder he procured means that he needs a base of operations of sort, somewhere dry and relatively isolated. This means an abandoned building within close distance, and the list of possibilities is short. I decide to head back and find Nami first. I remember the shock and fire from yesterday and realize that I fear this man more than the group of mages we recently slaughtered, and for good reasons. He knows what I am, and he came prepared. This must be it. I have spent the last hour going from one possible hideout to another, and this is my third attempt and the right one at that. The Smiths moved back east after Peter Smith inherited, and they left behind a quiet building at the edge of town, conveniently hidden behind a copse of trees. A perfect spot to hide unusual activities. I can see wafts of smoke coming from a chimney of the two-story building, where there should be none. Shall we, sweet cheeks? Let's take a look around the place first. We discreetly inspect our target. This home is abandoned, a derelict, which means that I should be able to enter without issue. Mud tracks mar the wooden planks at the front and back entrance, but whoever lives here made no effort to make the place more inhabitable. Or clean, for that matter. The garden plot is abandoned, only a fallow field covered in sickly weeds, a pile of mud and a half-fallen shed. Right. I'm handling this, and I have a request. Could you please stay outside and whistle if you see anything wrong? Expecting something? Yes. Explosions. We are not exactly fireproof and this house is made of wood. Why not have your immortal servants handle this? I look at her in disbelief before realizing from her placid face that this is a test. Enough with this nonsense, now is not the time. She nods and walks back towards the copse, masking her aura. In moments even I cannot find her. I turn back to the house and approach the back door. Instead of using the handle, I close my eyes and focus. Wind. Cracking wood. Nocturnal animals chasing and being chased. No human heartbeat nor footsteps inside the house, though it could be covered by thick walls. On a whim, I punch through the fragile wood above the lock. Nami lets out a warm chuckle. What? One can never be too careful. Have a Burger Ninja crawl down a wall to place a touch trigger rune outside a window, and you too will reconsider traps as a way to take out your targets, I assure you. How I wish I could trap my opponent. Unfortunately he seems crafty, and I am not exactly patient, particularly not when my real estate is at risk of being turned into smoldering cinders. I search my cloak and find a small hand mirror, and though I cannot see my reflection, I can use it to inspect the door for anomalies. It pays to be prepared. There's nothing. This is a completely normal door. With a sigh, I open it and find myself in a central room. Two pairs of doors lead to the right and left, and a set of stairs leads to the second floor. There are no cries of alarm and no sound of a heartbeat, and so I take my time to inspect my surroundings. The walls are entirely bare and covered with a thick layer of dust. The ground too has not seen any cleaning in a while, which allows me to notice tracks left by the same man coming and going multiple times. Interestingly, they only lead up. Did the man never use the kitchen? I am about to go forward when two irregularities catch my attention. First, there is a lot of mud, so he may have spent quite some time in the garden, but to what end? And then it comes to me. The pile of mud outside has not grown any vegetation, meaning it is quite recent. How have I not already drawn this obvious conclusion? I must be losing my peasant roots. Papa would be disappointed. So Mr. Bomber dogs something out. Whatever it is, the access must be upstairs. Curious. The second irregularity is a single plank just before the stairs. It is suspiciously clean, as if the man had avoided it every time. I would be wise to do the same. Curiosity still leads me to lean above it and breathe in. Rot, mud, humidity, and below that the scent of gunpowder. So, there was indeed a trap. Satisfied, I climb up the stairs in silence, taking extra care to pause at every step. I consider climbing on the walls and just forfeit the damn floor entirely, but I am afraid that they may not support my weight. Not that I am heavy. The wood is just that damaged. After entirely too much time, I find myself on the landing to the second floor. Once more, there are a total of 4 doors and only 2 on my right have been in use. I walk up to the first one and look through the keyhole. It appears to be a workshop of sorts. I lean down and snap one of the most damaged planks to look in with my mirror. This time again, there are no traps, and I enter the room. All the windows have been shuttered. My vision dims, something that only occurs when in presence of absolute darkness. The room is mostly bare. I can only see crates, a work table, and a cabinet filled with equipment set against the wall to my left. I am shocked by the contrast between this room and the outside. The floor has been meticulously cleaned, the walls are almost shining, and the supplies and tools are strictly classified with a sense of detail that I haven't seen since Loth. Even the pots of powder on the shelf are labeled with the date of creation and chemical composition of its contents. This is where he made his bombs, and I can only applaud his professionalism. I move to the table to inspect it. There is only one thing of note, a small book that I quickly skim through. The contents teach me nothing. The man just tracked the resources he expended with a rigor that borders on obsession. The letters are blocky, even childish perhaps, but the hand that drew them was assured. The crates and cabinet show nothing but the parts and components used by an artificer and a gunsmith, including the expected powder. I exit and walk to the last room, and I can tell that it is far more promising. From behind the door I smell cooked bacon and beans, as well as human sweat. Still no heartbeat. For what I hope to be the last time, I snap parts of the door to inspect the other side. A thin thread is attached to the handle and rails up to the frame, then through loop to flintlock firing mechanism lodged against an earthen pot of massive proportion. Ha! Ha! I knew it. I punched a hole at the center of the door to let my arm through, then after a second of realization, a second one to actually see what I am doing. With infinite patience and inhuman precision, I seize the thread between two claws and cut it. The piece of twine falls slowly on the floor, without a noise. With a smirk, I realize that I am in my opponent's sanctum. Pride fills my chest. Yes, his nest is mine now. Like his workshop, the place is perfectly clean, with only a small cot, basic cooking implements near a still warm hearth and a single wardrobe. The Spartan surroundings leave me uneasy. Did this man really live here for 2 weeks? I would have grown insane. The level of dedication required to maintain discipline for so long is both inspiring and terrifying, and I find myself respecting my foe for it. Even if he turns out to be insane, at least he managed to transcend his madness and turn it into a strength. With nothing urgent, I sweep the room to see if there are any clues as to his location. The most promising element is what appears to be a trapdoor at the edge of the room, now sealed. What is it doing here? I approach it and check it for traps as well before opening it. It leads down, far down, into a walled-out section of the house. It is not deserted though, just filled with lit fuses. At least 5 of them, snaking up from the depths. Fuck. I tear the shutters away with the strength of desperation. Open air. Wide enough. I jump out. I hit the ground running as fast as I can, the world blurs around me and I whistle with all my power, hoping that Nami heard. The pile of mud, a passage down. He must have dug out his way to a sort of cave and hold here, but how did he know I was coming? I run around a bend of the road and roll on the ground, covering my ears. 1, 2, 3. At the count of 5, the house explodes. I scream as the deafening bang reaches me, and a wall of heat passes me by, singeing my hair. Flaming debris is sent so far in the air they can probably be seen at the other end of town. Wow. He really wanted to make sure, huh? I stand up and survey the wreckage. The scene is apocalyptic, a valley of flame and scorched earth around a smoldering crater that may well lead to the gates of hell. Ariane. Here. Nami runs the periphery of the disaster zone and slides to a stop by my side. Her face twists with concern until she sees that I am well, then her smile turns wicked. What? First, stop screaming, and second, don't worry, they should grow back within a few minutes. What? Why are you whispering? She does not answer and instead just taps her ears. Ah. I am deafened. An instant later, my ears pop and a black liquid trickles down my neck. What was it about growing back? I realize that a side of my head is suddenly more sensitive to the warm wind blowing from the remains of the house and pat it. My hair. It's gone. Relax, it will be back in a few minutes. My hair, my precious hair, blonde and silky. My pride and joy. Ariane, calm down. It will be back soon. Yes? Mes Boshevou. Sweetie, focus. Did you see the bomber? Alright, The man who almost roasted me, that little thug. No, he has dug some sort of passage down. He set off the explosion from there. Do you believe that he killed himself? That is an easy question. I find it unlikely. Everything was carefully prepared with several layers of redundancy to make sure I would end up as charcoal. He probably has an escape tunnel. It couldn't be too long. We could look for a trapdoor heading out from that corner, I answer and point to where the trapdoor used to be. All right. We must hurry, people will undoubtedly come to see what happened. We spread out and search quickly, and for once we are in luck. The blast of the explosion pushed away all manners of things from its epicenter, including a dust-covered tarp marking a secret exit. Truly, does that man know no limit? Who does that? I slam the door open and move aside at the same time as a precaution. Thankfully, it appears that the man ran out of powder. I peer down and find the tunnel heading down, then back towards the house. I glance at Nami and with a nod, jump down. The passage is very narrow, it arches so that I have to follow it sideways and can only see a few feet forward. The earthen walls, barely reinforced by the rare log, give me an intense feeling of claustrophobia. If it collapses, I could stay there a long time, crushed by a mountain of rock and maddened by bloodlust. I shiver and chase the thought away. Nami knows where I am. I slowly move forward, taking time to make sure no support has been sabotaged, but it appears I am in the clear. After entirely too much time, the passage widens and leads to a reinforced door adorned with a cross, fixed into the walls by bars of steel. As I come into view, a metal bar slides open and I find myself face to face with the business end of a blunderbuss. I move down and forward, and the following shot rakes the passage above me. In the bluish cloud of powder that follows, I spot a slit of light. In a single motion, I take out a pistol and fire at point-blank range. There is a ping of metal, then silence. The air rings with 2 consecutive detonations in such a closed space, and swirls of spent powder cloud my vision. My ears pop once more, and I comment offhandedly. You missed. So did you. There, where used to be the yellow glare of a lantern, now sit 2 gray eyes. The skin around is angry and red, signs that the cloud of powder from my own shot still marked my target. I try to charm him more out of habit than anything else, though the bond is stopped by an invisible barrier that tastes like a warning. Just as expected then. I don't think we have met yet, Bradley. We have. I blink, trying to place him. His steely glare is unflinching. Not fearless, but beyond it. He knows what I am, he knows what I can do, and he still decided to come after me. He also managed to drive me to a stalemate. I cannot pass the door of his without preparation, a fact that escapes neither of us. I think I would remember such a man. Unless you were at the Order's prison. You are the sole survivor, the one who got away. He does not have to reply, the flash of fury on his face is answer enough. And you still decided to come after me, I continue, alone. I do not know if I should salute your courage or laugh at your arrogance. I am never alone, adds the man, still calm. Nobody else came here. I checked. He does not answer. Instead, a finger appears pointing down. I lower my gaze to the cross embedded into the gate with apparent dedication. The object glints with a silvery sheen, despite the absence of any sort of illumination. Strange to think that it used to be a familiar symbol and now, it is anathema to my very existence. I am never alone, unlike you. Ah, we have reached the part of the conversation where you call me an abomination? If you wish. I smile at this. What a surprising man, and so unexpected. We are a minute into an exchange and I haven't been called a devil's harlot even once. What a novel prospect. I am enthused. Where is your righteousness, warrior of the Order? Where are the insults? I am not much for conversation. What are you much for then, besides meticulous planning and demolition? His eyes track my expression, gauging. Fool, I have played poker for 30 years now. Even Loth could not read me. You sure like to talk a lot. Ah, but can you blame me? Such occasions are so rare. Old enemies forced to a truce by circumstances. We are like characters in the Iliad. So tell me, O defender of light, why come here alone? Why not gather a large troop and burn the city to the ground, Wouldn't work. You don't sleep in that room. Oh. How would you know? I climbed the wall and had a look. I look at him, aghast. You scoundrel. Peeping Tom. How did you even manage to slip past the guards? During a change of patrol. What? You know their schedule? How? I observed. I am having the most curious of experiences. I am talking to a door, with a man behind who would see me dead if he could, and yet is more interesting than most people I have met. Are you telling me that in 2 weeks, you managed to infiltrate the dream, blow up my shed, and set up such an elaborate trap all without attracting attention even once? Yes. Why? He even looks surprised. Have you considered that you could be a great vampire? No. Never mind, I prefer my fellow night denizen to have a sense of humor. You stole it from me. I did. He avoids my gaze for a moment to reminisce on some painful memory, no doubt. The pause lasts for but a moment, and when it ends, the man is as controlled as ever. Not you. Your kind. Some demon worshipper cult. You lost people to mages? Once more, the naked pain and anger that flash on his face convey more meaning than a book ever could. I am no mage, and I worship no one, if you must know. Why serve in a prison in the first place then? Don't work well with others. They don't trust me in a team, so they put me there. I took the prison's money cash and came after you. I know you are entertaining me to waste my time until dawn. You were trapped here and this town answers to me, so if you want to see the day, you will have to do better. Why come after me at all, alone of all things? Bradley sighs and closes his eyes, and I can tell that the pressure of the past 2 weeks has taken a toll on his mind. My sin was pride. Vampires are arrogant, is what I heard. We are people. Some of us are arrogant, some of us know better. You. I guess it's true. You were a bit careful. No, if I were truly careful, I would have sent mortals after you. Then why didn't you? This is the first question he asks. I smile wider, showing my fangs. He doesn't flinch. You did not hurt my people, so this hunt is still between the two of us. Ah, and those demon worshippers, have you found them yet? No. Did you join the brothers for this? They had the tools. And the training. I see. It appears that I have to cut our conversation short. There are people coming. Goodbye, Bradley, and see you later. I turn around and get back into the passage. He does not fire on my back. Outside, I manage to avoid the attention of the handful of people already searching the wreck for survivors and quickly find Nami under the cover of the trees. I relay the meeting to her, which she finds immensely amusing. Ah, my little chocolate pie, I am so happy for you. This is the kind of memory that you will cherish decades from now, when you share it with your lover. That sounded strangely specific. What will you do now? She continues, have your men smoke him out? That won't be necessary. I left the way open. It is only a matter of time before. Ah. Look. The number of people checking the wreckage has reached 24, and the trapdoor is quickly found by an inquisitive girl. A couple of burly men volunteer to check the tunnel, and I watch with fascination while reloading my pistol. I am still looking at the crater, expecting Bradley to exit from there when a noise warns me and Nami, and I jump away. The earth collapses to reveal a mine hole. A dirt-covered form with a backpack brushes itself and emerges into the night. Nami and I exchange a look. There is no light here, he is blind as a mole. With a resolute air, the man steps forward onto something soft. The moment he realizes something is wrong is just priceless. That, I whisper in his ear, was my foot. This is the moment of truth, and Bradley does not disappoint. He shows determination and courage in the face of certain death, and I admire him for this. Does the Order know I am here? No. Would you like to live? Do not play with me. I do not. Offer me your blood and swear to keep my existence a secret, and I will escort you to the edge of town. You will be free to pursue your revenge. Why would you do that? You can just bleed me here. Call it a professional courtesy, from one explosion-loving hunter to another. What will it be, Bradley? Your loyalty to the order and its principles, or a chance to pursue your revenge? Silence. Nami looks at me in delight, probably happy that I would do something so reckless. Only his fluttering heartbeat betrays the man's desperate inner struggle. What will it be? I can't wait to see. Vengeance. Yes. Extend your arm and swear. I swear I'll keep your existence secret, and never return here. I bite down. Ah, so delicious. A broken oath to God and his peers for the pursuit of a grudge, the end of a successful hunt. Delectable. Once I am done, I'll lick the wound close and whistle lightly. Metis trudges through the undergrowth like the massive war beast she is, and I climb up, then drag Bradley across the harness like a trussed-up boar. Yeah. We ride like the wind into the night, and as the smoky air clears up, I consider that I am truly glad to be alive. Tope continued. Thanks for listening.